You're listening to Radio Allerton. It's the sound of hospital radio for Chapel Allerton Hospital. I'm Francis Klanowski, and coming up next, our special feature with the stories.
Radio Allerton, just for you.
Hospital Radio, your first choice for great entertainment.
We're your good time company, a smile's what we provide. With our fun and laughter policy, your friends at your bedside. Friends drop in and say hello. How are you? We're your bedside radio. Happy voices, happy songs, news and views all going on. We've got the remedy. The answer's plain to see. Your bedside radio company. Friday.
Hospital Radio.
Much more music.
You are my light. You are my guiding hand. In a world that has lost its meaning to me, you seem to understand. I learned how to run. Maybe I got a lucky face. I guess everyone has their share of trouble. Now I'm learning to fall with grace. If you look, you'll see. You manifest in me. Now my devil's in the crowd, while your heaven holds you now. I'll get me a place somewhere out by the ocean. I'll hang your pictures and get me a wife, raise myself a good son. If you look, you'll see. You manifest in me. Now my devil's in the ground, while your heaven holds you now. It's only what you believe. It sets us apart. What you take and what you leave. If you look, you'll see. You manifest in me. Now my devil's in the ground, while your heaven holds you now. If you look, you'll see. Oh, you manifest in me. Now my devil's in the ground, while your heaven holds you. Your heaven holds you now. Holds you now. Your heaven holds you now. It holds you now.
That's the stories from Swansea, and from their latest album, Town Beyond the Trees, and that was called Heaven Holds You Now. And the stories were in Leeds on Monday evening to play at the New Roscoe, and before the concert, two of the band came down to the Radio Allerton studios during the afternoon to talk to us about their life and their music, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Steve Balsamo, one of the singers and guitarists of the stories.
And I'm Andy Collins, the bass player and one of the singers also.
Okay, so you're in the middle of a tour of the UK just at the moment. How's the tour going so far?
It's going great, actually. It's nice to be on the road again in our little van, travelling all over the place. We're about to head off to Monte Carlo for a week of gigs, and A big company has come in and started looking after us. They're called Martial Arts, and they look after people like Elton John and Joe Cocker and
Paul McCartney.
God, how could I forget? And they're taking us down to kind of showcase us in front of a load of European promoters.
Yeah. But I read somewhere that your first gig was actually to 70,000 people, which is quite a start for a relatively unknown band, isn't it?
It was an incredible start. It's been downhill since then, really.
Indeed.
But we played in front of Buckingham Palace for the Olympic Torch concert a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it came about because I was living in London at the time, and I was playing some of the demos of the album, and the girl who lived next door called round, and her boyfriend and myself became good friends, and then she heard the songs playing through the wall and said, "Would you want? There's a slot on this gig. Do you want to play it?" So we said, "Yeah, go on." And next thing we were there.
You didn't have to think very long then.
No.
And it beats coming on saying, "Turn that music down," doesn't it?
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
I mean, if you played to big venues like that, and you played with alongside Elton John, and presumably he wasn't in small venues either, what's it like then? How do you adapt when you're playing somewhere like the New Roscoe tonight?
It's all, crowds are crowds, and I love playing to all sorts of crowds. When you are able to see the whites of people's eyes, it's more scary sometimes than playing in front of 70,000 people or 30,000.
I was going to ask that, and you feel that you're a bit nearer to the audience. You get a chance to meet some of them afterwards as well, which you wouldn't have in the.
That's right.
Yeah,
we like that connection as well.
I mean, if be it 40 people, 40,000 people. I mean, the fact that people have actually taken the time out to come and see us, is
great.
One hell of a bonus for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
and we like meeting people and having a chat, and luckily music lovers come to see us. Not because we're not a cool band, and we're not that got. Well, look at us, and it's just about music and about songs. So we feel very privileged to meet. Fellow music lovers. It's great. It's great fun.
Let's just go back to the beginning then. How you all got together? Because you're all from musical backgrounds, or how did the band start off? Whose idea was it?
Well, I kind of had an idea. I had a big deal with Sony, and one of the other boys, Di, had a big deal with Sony. We'd seen how the music industry can kind of chew you up and spit you out if you're not clever or thick-skinned enough, and luckily we survived that, and it didn't turn us off music. So I was working with one of the other guys, Rob, and Andy was working with Di. So we just kind of got together over a little bit of time and started throwing some ideas down. Quickly wrote a load of songs and then recorded them at an old cinema in South Wales.
I was going to come back onto the recording bit in a moment, because that's quite an interesting story in itself, isn't it? But whose idea was it then to... Because your music's been described as this sort of American West Coast sort of imitation almost, but whose idea was it to go down that route, and, where did you get the idea that was the kind of music you wanted to emulate?
I think we've all got that sort of music in our record collection, and I just think the songs kind of chose that direction themselves. I mean, because you have 4 singers, if you kind of get the harmony thing starting, and it just kind of goes in that direction. I don't think anything was really pre-planned. It just
was there any
particular?
Was there any particular band that you modelled it on?
We've been akin to people like Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Yeah,
and the Eagles, and there's Jackson Browne, who is a great singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
All them sort of people just appear in our record collections.
But then we've got newer bands like Crowded House, and and it seems to have come round again now. There are lots of bands with harmony singers in them, or multiple singers. Yeah,
the one that it reminded me of most, and I've played them back to back quite often on the show with your music, was the Thorns. I don't know if you remember them from 2 or 3 years ago. Matthew Sweet, Sean Mullins, and Pete Rose.
Yeah,
and it's a very similar sound.
I love that record. I love that record.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Sean Mullins fan anyway. I thought he had some great. And Matthew Sweet's fantastic. I didn't know the other. I didn't know Pete.
No, I'd never heard of him before, but
he's great.
The sound together was just fantastic.
Yeah, but that wasn't as successful as they all anticipated in the States.
It wasn't. I mean, this was going to be a huge thing, and maybe 2 or 3 follow-up albums, but then nothing came of that. But I mean, maybe that's often the case with that kind of music, that it maybe just has such a small audience that unless you've really got the real interest in it and the bravery and the courage to go ahead and keep persisting with it.
I think keep going because we kind of thought that, and then the Eagles brought out their, Long Road Out of Eden or whatever that it was called, and sold millions again instantly. So it just shows that there is a huge audience for harmony music like that. So we just got to get to them.
Yes, and also now a new generation that's rediscovering things like that, where the old people like me discovered it back in the 70s. We've always been there. We've just never seen it go out of our fashion. It's just everybody else is suddenly now discovering it.
Yeah.
And so, coming back to that first album, it's very much a homemade thing, wasn't it? So tell me the history of how you came to do that.
Well, Di in the band when he had a big deal with Sony, he got a load of old vintage gear, old bits of recording equipment and keyboards and so on. So we went up to another friend of us who's become our tour manager now, a guy called Lawrence Davis, who's got an old converted cinema, which is now a pub up in the Welsh Valleys. And so we did a very romantic thing. I'd made a record that was kind of difficult and forced with Sony, and he kind of pushed into areas because they tell you what to do, and it was wrong, and Di had he had the same thing. So we kind of made this without any intervention whatsoever, just because we know what songs are good, and we've got so many albums ourselves, we know what's good and what's not. So we went up there, and Di and Rob, all of us really, but those two kind of instigated the production. So we made this record that we absolutely loved, and then to finance putting it out, we set up a little company with amongst ourselves, and then borrowed the money from local gangsters.
Right, and then to promote it, you took it to Bob Harris among others, and Bob started playing the music.
Bob got hold of it, and started playing it, and hasn't really stopped, which is fantastic. So much so that for his birthday, for his 60th, we did a jingle for him. He said,
did, which he still uses.
Yeah, which he uses now.
And in fact, now when you hear that track on the album, you're actually listening for Bob Harris's voice coming
91, that's what you...
that's the one.
He actually said when we done the last session for him, I think you got the words wrong there.
That's right.
Well, look, I'm going to play a track from that first album now. The one I've chosen is Journey's End, because I think that sums up to me what the stories are all about, because it's got it's a beautiful track, obviously, so it's very melodic. It's got the harmony, it's got the music playing as well. So just tell me a bit about that track and how you came to write it.
It was just a little idea that we all kind of collaborate together. We bring ideas to the table and kick it around. But that one, Rob was responsible for most of the lyrics of that, and it's quite a spiritual song, I think, that, in a very open way, and it is about, keeping on, and it's about, for me, maybe not for Rob, but I interpret it now, and when I sing it, it kind of, it's about an openness to try. Sometimes we get in our own way when we try and do anything. Ego gets involved, and sometimes ego drives you in the wrong direction. So I think for me, when I sing it now, it's a song about getting out of my own way and letting my truth come forward.
Tell me, I will listen. There's so much I need to learn. Fill this moment with your wisdom. Take this spark and make it burn. Show me love, my arms are open. Told me now I've been awoken. Lead me to the journey's end. Save me from the coldest season. Tell me there's a deeper reason. Lead me to the journey's end. I was told there is no to keep things in. There's a darkness that I've been deep in. Is there nothing that I can win? journey's end. And I say, on and on and on, and I say, leave me to the journey's end. On and on and on, and I say, on and on and on, and I say, leave me to the journey's end. Leave me to the journey's end. Leave me to the journey's end. To the journey's end.
You're listening to Radio Allerton with Francis Klanowski. It's the album show on a Friday evening, and our special guests today, Steve Balsamo and Andy Collins from The Stories.
Hospital Radio. Listen to the difference.
That was The Stories, and from their first album, that was a song called Journey's End. I've got Steve and Andy from the band in the studio with me, my special guests for the programme today. And you mentioned before, we touched on this this invitation from Elton John. I mean, I've heard the story before, but really it's fascinating. Tell me about that, what happened there?
Well, Elton John is a huge music fan. You know, he buys hundreds of albums a week, and he really is a genuine music lover. And I was at home in Swansea, and our manager John called and said, "Don't leave the house." I said, "Why?" He said, "Elton John is going to call in 10 minutes." And there was much swearing and nonsense. I said, "If this is a lie, I'm going to drive to Nottingham and probably kill you." He said, "It's not a lie." 10 minutes later, Elton John was on the phone saying, "Hello Steve, I've heard your record and I think it's fantastic." And it was like years and years and years of hard work and trying to write songs and learning the craft of songwriting, and then you've got a songwriting legend on the phone singing one of the songs down the phone to you, saying how much he thought it was great.
Really? So he'd actually listened that closely to it that he could sing it?
He knew all the record, all the songs. He wanted to know about how we recorded it because he thought the sound of it was fantastic, and it reminded him of how he used to make records in the 70s. He said it was a very brave record to make against, you know, what was the current climate of songs. It's kind of more angular music, and it's kind of a bit sort of hardcore, kind of post-punk, isn't it, again, now at the moment, which is great, you know, and it's, you know, kids are playing again and writing great tunes, but our record has nothing to do with that movement whatsoever. So Elton really picked up on that, and then he said, "Will you come out and tour with us?" And at that point I thought...
And what was he like when you toured with him? What was he like as a person to be with?
He was amazing. He was so friendly, so supportive, so encouraging. He talked a lot about football,
which I know nothing about. Andy knows loads about.
But Steve was talking to Elton in the corridor, and I came out of the dressing room. He said, "You better talk to Andy because I know nothing about football." And it was just, you know, talking away like we're talking here. And it's like halfway through the conversation, I was thinking, "Crikey, that's Elton John." You know, it didn't sink in. And then he was talking about he'd been doing a music award the night before.
Yeah, that's right. And he said, "Oh, I love Richard Hawley. I think he's brilliant." And then he said, I got to meet Scott Walker, and I was thinking,
and he's my idol, and you could see it in his eyes, the passion in it. And he's loving it.
And I gather that he actually helped you to get set up properly as well. That you were given the same sound check facilities as the main band.
We had more than he did.
Yeah, we had much more time. Again, you know, that's
the whole crew.
The whole crew were brilliant and very supportive, and so respectful of everybody else. To see a huge show like that go on is an eye-opener, because you go and see a gig, you think, yeah, that's a fantastic gig, but everything that goes into the catering, the lights, the sound, everything takes so much effort. It's unbelievable. And the respect everyone had, it just goes to show that he runs a very tight ship that's very respectful. And remember, Davy Johnson and Davy Johnson, Nigel Olsen, Davy Johnson, with him for 30 years, and you know, they've seen a lot of life with Elton, and the respect there is just magical.
I mean, the camera crews, you know, we get the big screens either side of the stage. I mean, the sport act kind of normally gets to play on stage and just
no
thank
lights,
you very much.
Nothing.
But he was like, stick the cameras on him. You know, we had
really?
by the end
Yeah.
of the tour, we had all the cameras. We even had cameramen roaming around the stage. with us at the
Really?
end.
So you're on the big screens as
Yeah,
well?
yeah,
Oh,
it was
fantastic.
And that never happens.
The lighting guys on the last tour, when we were doing Cinnamon, they were pushing R across the back when the R's of the song was coming in, across in bold letters
awesome.
behind us.
That's
It was,
amazing.
you know, they were so, you know, all dancing at the side of the stage.
Brilliant.
It was incredible. It was an
Yeah.
incredible experience.
Yeah.
Everybody on the show, from the top to the bottom, were incredible and wonderful people.
Well, I know that you've now gone on to, or Steve at least, you've gone on to this collaboration with Tia McGrath. And I've got the album there in front of me, and this beautiful song that you co-wrote, or you co-wrote it with Tia McGrath. I mean, do you think will you be doing more collaborations like that, or do you want to do more?
Definitely. We're songwriters, you know, and we love the whole collaboration experience. And what happened there was we met Tia and Tommy at Bob Harris's 60th birthday, and we got on great. And
Yeah, Tommy's her husband, Tim McGrath's husband.
Tommy Parnham.
Yeah.
And we got on fantastically well. And they said we'd love to come and write with the band. So what we did, we had like a Tia fest sort of vibe. We all went to Di's house down by the coast in Wales, and we just took it in turns to write over a couple of days, and we had about 4 or 5 songs I think that came out of those sessions.
Right.
Some will possibly end up on solo efforts from each one of us, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you envisage that you will have solo projects going, or do you all depend on each other to make the music?
I think we'll have solo projects going that will involve other members of the stories that, you know, because what happened with this then, the song Second Chance, which I absolutely love, ended up on Tia's record, but I may make a record and that song may come on my record as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Andy and myself have written songs that might end up on his, and
Right.
so
yeah.
I love the idea. It's a very 70s idea that people all get together and write and end up on each other's albums, and it's fantastic.
So you never end up with writer's block that way, do you?
No,
We've got so
definitely.
many songs. We had too many songs for this new record.
Yeah,
We almost had arguments about what songs were going on it.
Right.
You know, because we thought we recorded 22 songs. I think.
Yeah.
And we
tell
got
the
so
company.
no, don't say we got so
Maybe
many,
somebody
so many songs.
Yeah, and then the new one isn't as homemade as the first one, is it? I mean, you've gone on to a bigger studio to record it, and it's at Peter Gabriel's studio.
It was
Why was that one chosen?
because we could, I suppose, because we were with Warner Brothers at the time, and they said, "Where do you want to make the record? And who do you want to make it with?" And
Right.
there's a guy called John Kelly who's produced Kate Bush and Beautiful South and Deacon Blue, and he came on board, and he said, "Where do you want to go?" And we said, "Well, Real World." He said, "Okay," and that's where we were, and it was unbelievable. And Peter was around, and I'm a huge Gabriel fan.
Yeah.
And just seeing him making a cup of tea and being mystical, the only man I've ever met who can be mystical making a cup of tea, and is the coolest guy I think I've ever met.
He was
Yeah.
lovely, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was incredible.
My conversation was, the only conversation I had with him was about, first of all, that's a nice cup of tea, and then secondly, about the secret underground city that is very close to where a studio is in Box, just outside Bath.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about it, and apparently the Queen used to have a railway track that comes down, and there's football fields and pubs, and he's been down there. Of course he would. It was Peter Gabriel.
He owns it now, probably.
He probably owns it. But I thought, what a brilliant conversation to have with Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
A secret underground city.
Yeah, but then after the record was made, did I hear that Warner Brothers then dropped you or finished with you? What happened there?
We dropped them. No, what happened was during the making of the record, the label with the whole of the industry is in disarray
Yeah.
in a state of, you know, nobody knows what's going to happen. Our label, which was Corova within Warner Brothers, everyone got sacked, and everyone, the whole thing disappeared. So we didn't know what was going to happen. We just made this record that we were very proud of. We didn't know who was going to pay for it. We thought, what? So, but in fairness to Warner Brothers, they paid for it, and the guy Nick Stewart, who was running the label, although he had the sack, he got the record back for us. He went to the big man upstairs and said, "Let's come on, do the decent thing."
Yeah.
And again, you know, 5-6 years ago, that wouldn't have happened.
No,
They would have kept the
no.
record, shoved it on the shelf, and
Yeah, but then you've
things have
been
changed.
fighting for it years down the line to try and get the rights back to it. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, we're going to hear a track from the new album now, and the one that I've chosen for this one, it's the second track on the album, Couldn't Make It Up. So just tell me a bit about the background to that.
Well, it's one of the ideas that Rob brought to the table, and for what I can gather, it's a very grown-up song about within the lyric, the stuff about possibly a breakup of a marriage, and the stories write songs for grown-ups. I think that's it.
Adult music.
Adult music, because we're
definitely.
all of a certain age, and we've experienced a bit of life, all of us, and we just like to reflect it. So this is one about maybe changes in someone's life, not necessarily Rob's. I think he was just writing it.
It's for anybody who's got changes like that. Okay, we'll hear that one now.
To run from these strangers since we let them in. Haven't seen us, where'd you think you are? I'm sorry, who you talking to? Got the key to the house, but it can't be used. You couldn't make it up, you couldn't make it up. Couldn't make it up if you tried. Are you and I in love? Are you and I in love? How'd you fall apart? Come and see me. Been staring at the dust on the TV screen. All your friends, they don't know you. In the end, the years rush on, but they take so long. You couldn't make it up, you couldn't make it up, you couldn't make it up if you tried. Are you and I in love? Are you and I in love? Are we skating 6 feet under the ice? We try to make things up, we try to make things up. My life passes me by, I waste every minute, trying hard to find the right moment to begin.
That's the stories from their latest album, Town Beyond the Trees.
That's it.
And that was a track called He Couldn't Make It Up. You're listening to the album Show on Radio Allerton with Francis Klanowski and our special guests this evening, Steve Balsamo and Andy Collins from The Stories.
Radio Allerton, just for you.
Hospital Radio, your first choice for great entertainment.
And you were just saying while the record was playing that there is a little bit more of a commercial bent with this new album, that maybe trying to get a little bit more commercial success with it than perhaps the first one would have done.
Yeah, what we did with the first one was just make something that we just loved with no attachment to anything. But
Yeah.
a lot of the songs got picked up on commercial radios all over the world, really, and people at Radio 2 started to get on board and all of this sort of thing. So we thought, the next one we'll keep an eye on commerciality, because
Yes.
it would be great to get a hit. It'd be great to
Yes.
get a hit album.
Yeah.
Because it can just carry you for a long time around the world
Sure.
and keep making new music.
Yeah.
So a few of the songs on this one have definitely had that in mind.
Yeah, I know it was a nice surprise the first time I heard Terry Wogan playing Long Hard Road, and I thought, oh gosh, the Stories have made it at last, away from the serious music shows, the likes of Bob Harris
Yes.
and my own, I suppose, and down to, to mainstream daytime radio with Terry Wogan, Ken Bruce is kind of on the Radio 2 playlist at
It
long
is.
last.
It's big talk there, because Terry Wogan's show is the biggest listened to show in Europe.
Sure. Yes.
It's a huge.
Yeah.
It's 7 million or something every
Yeah.
morning. And
Yeah.
So it's great to get, because you do flip over then daytime radio, and then
Yes.
it can just spark off from
Yeah,
there.
and one of the things about Terry, I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times, and he absolutely loves his music.
Yes.
And off air, he will comment about different ones that he's having to play. So
Yes,
I'm guessing that
yes,
this one
yes.
would have gone down well in Terry's estimation.
It's great, and I've met Terry a few times. He's a great laugh.
Yeah,
I met him at
fantastic.
Eurovision.
Of course.
'Cause I wrote-
You weren't taking part.
No, I wrote a song for France a couple of years ago.
Oh, do you?
And
Yeah.
we went around to try and bribe him with bottles of Baileys.
Okay.
But he was fully stocked up. And,
Yeah, from every other country that's taking
exactly.
part.
Our bribe didn't work at all.
Pre-bribed.
Yeah.
Ice, though, he said, he couldn't get me some ice. I said, hang on a minute.
So you're not doing an entry for Wales then?
I've written some for... We have our own thing called Canny Gymru in Wales,
Okay.
which is our own kind of song festival.
Yeah.
Song, contest, and I've written a couple
Okay.
for that over the years.
All right.
In Welsh.
Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah, because you're all Welsh speakers as well. Or
No,
not?
what
No.
Brian, our drummer, speaks, which is
Yeah.
good, because
Yeah.
Wales is very up on keeping the music, keeping the language alive, and therefore
Sure.
keeping the music
Yeah.
alive. And
Yeah.
we're big supporters of that as well.
Yeah,
because it's,
I've noticed that from recent holidays there that it's Welsh is there as a first language.
Yeah,
and
it's
you get to know it by the end of the week actually,
Yeah.
a little bit.
it's a beautiful language as well. It's very poetic and
Yeah,
incredible history.
Yeah.
And was the language of Britain at one time. Wasn't it?
And it's the oldest language in Europe.
Andy is our historian.
Oh,
you know.
okay.
Andy knows everything about most things.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the oldest language in Europe.
Great. So, coming back to the album again and to the music generally, I mean, how do you measure success for yourselves? I mean, is it just on album sales, or is it the number of people who turn up to a gig, or downloads? How do you measure it now? It's a combination of all those.
That's a fantastic question, Francis, because
It is.
success is can be measured in lots of different ways. Of course, we'd love to have commercial success because it allows you to make more music and to get out there more and to, up the touring schedule and to get a bigger van and all of this sort of stuff. But we've done so many amazing things. If I start doing it, it sounds like I'm name dropping, and I've got to pinch myself sometimes and stop myself from name dropping. But we've toured with Allerton, Katie Malua, Joe Cocker. We've played a gig at Bob Harris. Bob Harris is a massive fan. I mean, growing up, it was such a seminal thing.
Yes,
the Old Grey Whistle test,
Yeah.
and to have Whispering Bob come to you and say, "Well, I love this music so much." I mean, that is huge success. And from that, Anina Capaldi, who's Jim Capaldi, the old Traffic drummer's widow,
Sure.
saw us at Bob's party and then invited us to play at a tribute concert to Jim
Yeah, I remember
at the
Jim.
Roundhouse
Yeah,
at the beginning
yeah.
of last year. And that was an absolutely astonishing thing. We got to play a song that he wrote with George Harrison and Darnie Harrison. Andy's the biggest sort of Beatles nut in the world. And you were speaking to Olivia Harrison and Darnie Harrison.
It was
Yeah.
just the most amazing night
Yeah.
of my life.
In fact, if you could have gone back to the beginning and sort of mapped out how you would like your future to be, this is the kind of thing you could almost say you couldn't make it up.
That's
Really.
it as well. However, we did write because I'm a big I'm into kind of, you can manifest things, and I'm big into quantum physics and how you can influence how your life can go. I'm big into positive thinking and mapping stuff out. So when we started this project, Rob and myself read about Coldplay, had a big whiteboard on the wall, and they wrote down 10 points they were going to do, and they achieved them all. And we did exactly the same thing.
Really? Yeah.
And we have achieved most of them, apart from the money, which is proving slightly elusive.
Yeah.
But it is coming.
Yeah.
But I think success is in the eye of the beholder. And again, being on stage with Joe Walsh and Yusuf Islam and having it was Di was at the side. Di tells the story. He came off the side of the stage, and Joe Walsh,
Pete Townsend,
Paul
Weller,
and Gary Moore were just going, "Hey, that was great."
Oh.
And Di was like that. What can you say to that?
You could almost think it doesn't matter if I don't sell any records now after a comment like that.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Because all the people, the legends that you admire,
Yeah.
are kind of digging what you do. And at that gig in particular, we were the only unknown act.
Yeah.
and an unknown song.
Doing an unknown song, and we punched our weight. You know?
Yeah,
we really
yeah.
punched our weight,
Yeah.
and that was fantastic.
And that makes you play even better as
Yes.
well. It's like an incentive to do it.
I mean,
again.
we were on stage and we had Ray Cooper to do percussion for us. You know, and the man is a legend, you know, and he's a giant.
and
you
a
know,
giant,
man.
and
Yeah.
the nicest bloke around, and the
Yeah.
smartest chap.
Exactly. Yeah.
He
was cute, wasn't he?
He was a
He
cute.
Yeah.
He had a cute suit on.
Yeah.
And you just start the song and he's there, sort of shaking everything. Okay, I'll go with that.
But deep down, given a choice, would you rather have serious music lovers following what you do, or people who are buying it to play, you know, or being played on radio, on daytime radio? You know, it sort of goes in one ear and out the other.
Ideally, it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
That is the
Credibility is the most, I think.
you know, we've had great. If the band ends tomorrow, please God it doesn't. But if the band ends tomorrow, we have had a great experience the second time round. Remember, Di and myself were signed to Sony, and it was kind of a non-starter. And this has kind of definitely regained my sort of faith in music
Sure.
and how good
Yeah.
songs. Because we
Yeah.
started the stories just to write good songs, nothing else. Where it would take us was just we'll just go with it and see. And that's
We
kind
didn't
of.
even really start it as a band, did we?
No, we
It was
started as a
just
song to write songs.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's taken us down all these avenues, and we've experienced so much stuff. It's addictive, you know. It's
Yeah.
an addictive thing.
But after all these experiences now, you've toured with Elton John, you've had your music played by Terry Wogan, you've been interviewed by Bob Harris. So how does this visit to Radio Allerton compare with all of that?
It's right up on the top.
It's one of the deepest interviews we've had. It's fantastic, Francis. Yeah,
Oh, that's really good.
it is. It's
Yeah.
a really in depth.
It's made us think a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, has it?
I don't think I've thought this much in years.
Oh.
Francis will send
Well,
you a copy.
Yes, I will. Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you as a guest in the
It's been a pleasure
studio,
being here.
and
Thank
I hope you have a great night at the New Roscoe. I'm sure you will. We will as well in the audience. And maybe one day soon there'll be a band somewhere or a singer somewhere that is boasting about Steve Balsamo ringing him personally and
Oh.
saying, "Would you like to come on tour with the Stories?"
That'd be
That will
brilliant.
happen one day, because you'll be that big. But thanks very much for coming to see us.
Thanks
I'm going
very
to
much.
finish. I'm going to break my own rule and actually play the song that was released as a single, just because it's such a special, tremendous song, the opening track on the new album, Long Hard Road. So just tell me a bit about that before we play it.
Well, Andy was the instigator of this one. It's a beauty.
It's just a friend of mine was going through a bit of a tough time, and you know, it's just a case of saying to them, look, don't worry about it. There's always people here, and it may seem like hell at the moment, but you'll get over it, and there's people around to give you a hand to get you through it.
Great.
Basically it.
Okay, we'll hear the song now.
Tired of hiding the scars, always trying to be somebody before you run out of life. Run to me. We'll go down to the waves. Need to lay ourselves wide open, just beyond the horizon. You'll see down the long road. Caught up in the madness, I could only stand and stare as the it's a long, hard road. We'll get by. We'll get by. We'll get by. Trying to be somebody, not afraid to wear the scars. Baby, we'll get by. Baby, we'll get by. Baby, we'll get by. Oh, we'll get by.
That's the Stories from their latest album, Town Beyond the Trees, and the opening song on the album, Long Hard Road. And my thanks once again to Steve Balsamo and Andy Collins for coming along to see us on Monday afternoon and talking to us about the band, about themselves, about the music, and for a great night at the New Roscoe on Monday. Absolutely fabulous performance, one that the people who were there, the 60 or so people, won't forget in a hurry.
Hospital Radio.
You're listening to Radio Allerton, the sound of hospital radio for Chapel Allerton Hospital, with Francis Klonowski going through till 9 o'clock. And in a moment, I'm going to play the song that we did mention during the feature there, a song that Steve wrote alongside Tia McGrath.
Into the night, the music feels so right. Music in the night.
Oh, my love, do you remember when you told me she'd been more than just a friend? I believed your promise that I'd never hurt again. The last time we were here, we came to dance. It was the first time I gave you a second chance. It was wrong to fall, but baby, just the same, Don't pretend I'm the only one to blame. You said that you forgave, but then you still pushed me away. The last time we were here, we came to dance. It was the first time you gave me a second chance. We call it love, but who we tried to kill. It takes so much to right the wrongs we did. Just hold me now, don't wanna walk away, don't wanna say goodbye. When there's so much left to say, so much left to say. I know something's wrong, I can see it in your eyes. When we make love, someone else is on your mind. I bet you always thought I'd never be the cheating kind. The last time we were here, we came to dance. It's my first time, I need a second chance. We call it love, but who we trying to kill. It takes so much to right the wrongs we did. Just hold me now, don't wanna walk away, don't wanna say goodbye. When there's so much left to say, so much left to say. Don't walk away from the bed. I don't wanna walk away. Last time we were here, we came to dance.
Absolutely beautiful. That's Tia McGrath with Steve Balsamo and a song that they wrote together, Second Chance. And you'll find that one on Tia's album, A Day in My Shoes. One more song to go on the programme this evening, and the stories have been compared with lots of people like Crosby, Stills and Nash and the Eagles, but one of the bands that they reminded me of was back in the 70s. They made two fine albums. They also had a single whose title escapes me just at the moment. They were called Blue. They were from Scotland, and they were formed by a former member of Marmalade. And it was the sound and that sort of ability to sing the West Coast type harmonies, the US West Coast type harmonies, and that was what reminded me a little bit of the stories. I'll let you judge for yourself. This is Blue.
I'd like to be the first
That's Blue from their 1975 self-titled album, and a song called Let Me Know.
Hi, this is Steve and Andy from The Stories, and you're listening to The Album Show on Radio Allerton.
You've been listening to Radio Allerton, the sound of hospital radio for Chapel Allerton Hospital. It's almost time for us to close down transmission for this evening and hand you back over to our playout system. The playout system, of course, keeps you on air 24 hours a day with Radio Allerton. If you're leaving the hospital during this week, I do hope all goes well for you. And if you're still around next Friday, I'll be back between 7 and 9 with more album music. So till next week, from me, Francis Klanowski, and from all the Radio Allerton team, it's good night, God bless.
Hospital Radio.
It's time to say goodnight, my friends. I hope that you've enjoyed the show. And it's been such a pleasure to be here with you. Good